There's no shortage of financial ideas out there, but try to separate the good from the bad, and your gut may only get you so far. That's why TD Ameritrade offers multiple ways to help you get a sense of it all. Things like Morningstar Premier List, customizable screeners, and an at-a-glance ratings dashboard. So you can trust your gut and let your mind weigh in too.
A popular new stop smoking pill from the world's biggest drug company is in the midst of a safety controversy, and one man is putting a face on the drug's apparent scary side effects. Mike Huckman is our pharmaceuticals reporter, and he's here with more.
Good morning again, Becky. 2 weeks ago, the FDA issued a public health advisory about Pfizer's blockbuster-in-the-making smoking pill called Chantix. There have been a few dozen suicides and hundreds of reports of people thinking about or actually trying to kill themselves after going on this drug. Well, in the latest issue of New York Magazine, one man is recounting his own harrowing experience with Chantix and how it nearly cost him his life. Kneale Coughs is a contributing writer at New York Magazine, a former Chantix user, and he joins us now this morning, first on CNBC. Derek, thanks for being here.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So you're 32. You smoked for something like 12 years.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened shortly after you went on Chantix last fall.
Well, I've been incredibly naive. I thought that Chantix would work sort of like the patch does, in which you put it on and you don't really think about smoking at all. What happened to me was within about the second day I started having incredibly vivid, very lifelike nightmares. And as I continued between like 3 and 4 days, I would actually start feeling like I was living in a waking nightmare. It's as though my REM sleep was pouring into my reality, and everything took on a very surreal and very nightmarish glare.
And you got paranoid, you became withdrawn, you went on a rampage in your apartment, you thought about killing yourself?
I did, definitely. After a certain point, it was almost as though the drug, it was like it zapped my reward mechanism to such an extent that I found no reward in anything, from socializing to writing to exercising to any of my usual self-stimulating tricks. And I started wondering, like, what exactly is the point?
Are you a smoker now?
Well, right now I'm on the patch again.
Yeah, it's because when you're smoking, you're killing yourself anyway, aren't you?
Well, true enough, true enough.
Well, wait a minute. Seriously, is this not an SSRI?
No. This works on the nicotine receptors in the brain.
But you look at the way you block certain neuroreceptors, and you look at some of the studies on Prozac or some of the antidepressants with the same type of mechanism, and you wonder whether there's some, I mean, it sounds like a similar mechanism, and that's what's going on.
And we'll be able to get to that with a Pfizer Vice President of Medical Affairs in just a minute. But
so it's not serotonin?
No.
Okay.
How do you know, Derek, that these were not the result of nicotine withdrawal or your occasional imbibing as well in combination with the drug?
Well, it's a very good question. The one thing I could say is that, like a lot of smokers, I definitely enjoy a good drink as well. However, there was one time where I had a drink, and I saw someone at the bar that I wanted to talk to, and it turned out when I came to, I realized I was actually talking to the shadow cast by a potted plant. This is not usual behavior for...
How long were you on the drug?
I was on the drug for only 2.5 weeks, about 2.5, 3 weeks.
Derek Coughs. Is that because, you're writing about smoking and the cough.
Yes,
is that a pseudonym?
No, it's not.
That's really your name?
Yeah, it's just a strange Dutch name.
And just want to make sure you did not drop acid in college?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
And so I think there's 5 million scripts for this drug, right? And then they got 34 suicides. Is that right? Do we know how that compares with the national average of people just not on that drug? Or do we know about those figures? Is that an inordinately high number? Or is that the same as any group of 5 million Americans?
I don't know. Do you know?
Are you suing Pfizer?
No.
And you're not going to?
No.
All right. Thanks,
Derek.
Derek.
Good editor would have made sure you got those numbers in that story there. Maybe your next guest will have this, Mike.
Thanks, Derek. It is a complicated situation with a lot at stake, especially for Pfizer. Here with the company's response is Dr. Pony Subbiah, the Vice President of Medical Affairs. Dr. Subbiah, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
So what do you think is at stake here, or at work, I should say? The FDA came out saying for the first time a couple of weeks ago that there is possibly a cause and effect between the drug and the neuropsychiatric side effects, but you and your colleagues at Pfizer remain unconvinced of that. Why?
Well, I think first it's important to step back and realize that smoking by itself is a complex process and is actually a serious medical condition. And smoking, when you get to the smoking cessation area with or without drug, it has further complexity because when a person tries to quit smoking, they do experience nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Now, these symptoms include depression, irritability, depressed mood. So sometimes they can overlap with some of the symptoms now that's being reported in sports marketing events with Chantix. And that's why it's important to keep in mind the information that we put on the label is based on evidence. And the data to date suggests there is not a causal association based on the data that we have available, but at the same time, in some reports, a causal association cannot be completely excluded.
So are you saying that this could be the result of nicotine withdrawal, that a lot of people who are going through nicotine withdrawal do try to kill themselves or do kill themselves?
No, I think it's important to keep in mind now that the label has actually been updated with neuropsychiatric symptoms, which includes depressed mood, the suicidal ideation. Now, it's important to keep in mind now that if a patient is trying to attempt to quit smoking, that it should be done in a conversation with the doctor. And that's why we do feel that working closely with FDA, that the fact that we have put it in the warning section, what we're hoping is by doing this, that the patients will go and have that dialogue with the doctor and make sure that this is something that they want to do, and that Chantix, which we feel is a breakthrough product, will be considered as one of the options.
Doctor, I know that I had seen certain SSRIs, and that's a class of antidepressants like Prozac and many, many others, that some were suitable maybe for smoking cessation, but this is not. What is this? Where does this? Where's the action? Where's it mediated with this drug?
Yeah, so it is actually a very, very interesting mechanism of action. It actually works. It's not a nicotine replacement, but basically it works at the actual receptor where nicotine acts at. It acts like a shield, and therefore it prevents nicotine from acting there, and so therefore it prevents the reward effect that encourages the smoker to continue to smoke.
Okay, so there are nicotininergic receptors in the brain then. That's what you're telling me. Okay,
yes.
So it has nothing to do with serotonin.
No, it's an
Dr.
absolutely
Subbiah?
different mechanism. Yeah.
Dr. Subbiah, I think the FDA, Derek says in his really well-written story here, it cites 34 suicides and 420 instances of suicide behavior. Now, that's in 5 million prescriptions. So if we took a group of 5 million Americans, just regular Americans, not on any drug, how many suicides among 5 million would there be in the time the drug's been on the market?
You know, that's actually a very interesting question, and actually one of the things that's very challenging in this area is there is not much research in the actual area of suicide and neuropsychiatric adverse events in the area of smoking cessation. And so, but when you step back and look at the nature of the problem now, in the world there's over 1.3 billion smokers. Now in the U.S. itself, over 500,000 deaths occur annually due to smoking. And so it is very important to keep in mind right now that over 5 million patients are right now on Chantix. Many have benefited from the drug, but with any prescription medicines, there's a risk-benefit dialogue that needs to occur between the patient and the physician. And when this occurs, research has shown when there is a dialogue and the doctor is closely working with the patient at the end of the day is going to be more likely to quit smoking.
Okay, Dr. Subbiah, we really have to let you go at this point. So thank you again for coming in this morning. Thanks as well to Derek Coughs. This debate is going to go on. I think this could be headed to an FDA black box warning, which is a very stiff safety warning on this drug.
Mike, thank you very much.